All right, everyone. Good Friday morning. This is Senior Meteorologist Wesley Williams here. We're going to do a quick little digital desk update. We'll talk about how it's fall, y'all. We've got some nice sort of pumpkin spice air for our Friday morning. I'll tell you how long that will last. Plus, we'll take a quick look at the forecast and the latest on the tropics in case there's anything else out there to watch, which, spoiler alert, there might be. But let's take it one step at a time and let's talk about the morning temperatures here. So this morning, the temperature dropped all the way down to 63 degrees at the Gulfport Airport. It was the coolest morning we've seen all week and then some. It was actually the coolest morning we've seen in over 150 days. The last time the temperature got down to 63 or cooler was April 25th. So that was over 150 days ago. So this is it. You know, we had those long months of summer, but it looks like we're getting a break from that here with some of the coolest air since spring hitting our Mississippi coast this morning. And I did a kind of roundup of all of our coolest temperatures that were reported across the area, and we'll take a look at that list. Now, I'll kind of blow this up a bit bigger on the screen for you so you can see that information a bit more fully. Actually, I thought I would, but I actually don't see my max full. I guess I might have to route it. So anyway, I do see it. Here it is. There we go. So now I'll blow it up on the screen so you can see this information full. And yes, the Kill was the coolest area, as well as in a part of Pearl River County west of Poplarville. They had temperatures in the upper 50s, 58. I mean, if you're at 58, that's got me thinking you got to at least have some long sleeves if you're going to be out and about for a few hours. If you're just making a quick walk from your house door to your car door, big deal. 58, I think you can make it, right? But if you have to go for a morning walk, or you might be out sitting outside for a while, maybe standing outside at a bus stop or waiting somewhere, yeah, that will definitely be long sleeves type weather. We also had 59 in Picayune. Perkinston and Poplarville checked in at 60, and we had a number of places with 61 degrees, whether it was near Big Level in Wiggins or Bogue Chitto, which is near western Pearl River County. Carrier, also in Pearl River County. Loosedale over in George County. And then in Harrison County, even had a 61 reported at Orange Grove and Lyman, and 61 reported in Hancock County near Stennis. Some other spots were not quite as cool, but we put those on there as well. We had 62 in Van Cleve and Woolmarket, 63 at the Gulfport Airport, which we told you was the first time they've seen that since April 25th. We also had a 63 in Hancock County, basically by the Louisiana line. In Biloxi near Cedar Lake, checked in at 64. Hickory Hills also had 64. Bay St. Louis at the Bay Waveland Yacht Club was 66. Keesler in Biloxi had 67, and so did the Trent Lott Airport near Moss Point, Pascagoula. They had 67 degrees. And again, like I said, for some of you, this was the coolest air you've seen since before summer started. And it's got you thinking, well, how much longer can we keep this up? Is there going to be more on the way? Well, let's talk about the forecast. So there you can see what to expect for the rest of today. We'll see abundant sunshine, hardly any rain, and those temperatures, they're not going to stay cool all day. So even if you manage to throw on a long sleeve shirt or a light jacket, a light sweater this morning, you won't need it this afternoon. We're going right into the warm 80s. Although with the low humidity in place, it will be pretty comfortable, feeling very crisp like you would expect it to in the fall season. So it was a cool start to the day, but it will warm up with those 80s. And not much rain, a lot of sun. I mean, if you ever had a day when you've been waiting to maybe just go outside and spend some time at the park or at the beach or walking the dog or going for a little jog or a run, this is that day. Really don't let it pass you by. You kind of already messed up a little bit because you didn't take advantage of the cooler temperatures earlier this morning, but there's still time to at least take advantage of the crisp low humidity, because that's going to be here all day long. It will feel invigoratingly, refreshingly dry for much of the day. But I want to let you know that that's not going to stay that way as we go into the weekend. Some of the mugginess will try to return tomorrow. I think it'll still feel nice, but then it gets even a little bit more muggy heading into Sunday. And then by the time we get to next week, you won't be calling it crisp. So gradually we're going to lose hold of this feel. Today is the day when it will be maximized. It will be a little bit less of this feel tomorrow, and then even less of this feel by the time we go to Sunday. But I don't think we'll get enough moisture to really bring rain chances, though. Speaking of rain, the big talker, Helene, which last night made landfall in Florida as a Category 4 storm with 140-mile-per-hour winds. Intense, devastating, catastrophic. There have already been reports of deadly weather with this particular system. But the good news is that the storm has turned weaker now that it's off the water. It's inland. It is a tropical storm this morning. The winds have come down to 60 miles per hour, and the storm is racing northward at 30 miles per hour. It is going to be absorbed into an upper level low that's sitting just to the west of it, and it basically just becomes a rainstorm for areas to our north. So you can see that track, how it just kind of does a little circulation, a little rotation as it interacts with an upper low over the southeast. That being said, there still are some strong winds that parts of Georgia and parts of the Carolinas are dealing with on this Friday morning with those tropical storm warnings in place. But the rain threat, not expected locally. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, we're probably going to go the whole day with most of you seeing no rain at all. And you look at not just the next 3 days, but the next 7 days in the Mississippi coast, we're kind of in the dry spot there. Now, to our south in the Gulf, might be some showers by the middle of next week. And that might have something to do with the tropics too. More on that later. To our north, you can also see some showers, and those are associated with that low interacting with Helene. Northern Mississippi could see some rain out of that today. So even though we are fortunate on the Mississippi coast with little to no rain, our neighbors nearby are dealing with those conditions. There's our 7-day forecast, by the way. You can see that dry stretch of weather continuing. We've grown more confident in the dryness of the forecast, so we've gone ahead and taken that rain chance down to 10% or less for really the next 7 days. So it's totally possible for your location in South Mississippi to see no rain at all for the next 7 days. So keep that in mind for your plans. Take advantage of our generally drier pattern. So now we're going to switch gears and talk about the tropics. There's a lot happening in the tropics. There's 2 named systems and 3 disturbances to watch. Of course, Helene, the named system that we talked about, that we just talked about rather, that's causing rain and wind over parts of the southeast. But then there's Isaac, which became a hurricane. Category 1 Hurricane Isaac this morning, but that's out in the Atlantic and it's moving away. We'll actually blow this up a little bit larger on your screen so you can see it in better detail. But there's Isaac at the top of your screen. It's track in the red taking it to the east, so it's not coming toward the U.S. Now, down below Helene and Isaac, there's 3 disturbances. We'll start on the right. There's the one that is by the Cape Verde Islands that is a low chance to become a depression or storm. Then just to the west of that, there's Invest 98L with a high chance to become a depression or storm. I went ahead and threw on the spaghetti lines with that one so you can see that most of them just show the system kind of curving up to the north. So right now, 98L is not considered as a credible threat to the U.S. And so that's good news. Might not have to worry about 98L. However, much closer to home, we go to the left again, and you see the Caribbean. There's a yellow circle there, a low chance for development. What's there now? Nothing. But the National Hurricane Center says, while there might not be anything happening there in the short term, if you give it some time, by the time we get to the middle of next week, maybe some low pressure could form, and maybe that low pressure could move toward the Gulf of Mexico. So now we'll see if we can sniff out some low pressure. We'll use our long-range computer models, the GFS and the European models, which go further out into the future. And there you go. You begin to see the GFS, the X's are indicating where those models are seeing low pressure that I'm tracking. And they show it around Wednesday in the West Caribbean, and then around next Friday, moving toward portions of the Gulf of Mexico. Now, the latest GFS model wants to bring that low pressure, maybe a depression or storm, down to the southern Gulf. But the European model shows a different scenario in which that low pressure actually moves to the north and comes a little bit closer to the northern Gulf. So the models do not agree on exactly what's going to happen, where that low could go. But they do agree that there's going to be some low pressure somewhere in the Gulf around Sunday, October 6th. We don't want to hear that. We got cruising the coast. We don't want any low pressure or tropics going on. So I hope for our sake that there's nothing to track, and maybe the models are just out to lunch, and when we keep looking at them, perhaps we'll get new information that shows no low pressure. But we take a look at the GFS, and you can see that it does show perhaps a tropical storm, those winds of around 40 or 50 miles an hour in the southwest Gulf, away from us. But the one that was closer, the European, well, it's a bit broader of low pressure, and it's weaker. You don't even see winds of tropical storm force. If that's even a depression, the winds would only be 30 miles an hour or less. So it's something to keep an eye on as we track the tropics, but we probably won't know many details about it until our models get into better agreement, and that's probably not going to happen until around Tuesday or Wednesday of next week. So that's what we're tracking in the tropics. Helene is weakening inland over the southeast U.S. Isaac is heading away from the U.S. out to the east in the Atlantic. Then there's that tropical wave 98L, which will likely become a depression or storm, but it's so far away, over 1,000 miles away, that it's not considered a U.S. threat, and it might even take a turn out to sea up to the north. And then there's the area of low pressure that is being tracked in the West Caribbean. That does have a low chance of development, and we'll be tracking those chances. The chances might increase by the time we get to next week if the models keep showing low pressure forming there. So it's something that we'll be watching, but right now I don't really consider it as an imminent threat. And hopefully the threat never materializes, because look, we got business to take care of. Our cruisers are going to be in town. We don't want anything to mess up the forecast with them. So I'm hoping for the best. And we will keep you informed of the latest updates as we track the tropics in the coming days. If only cruising were this week, right? Look at that marvelous forecast. It's just picture perfect from Friday into the weekend and early next week. You got temperatures trying to stay below 90 most days in the afternoons, and we get some cooler mornings. We had a cooler morning this morning. We're going to get another cool morning on Saturday morning in the 60s. But by the time we get to Sunday morning and beyond, those mornings aren't as cool anymore, and that's an indication that the muggier air will be trying to roll back in. So I really hope that you make plans to head outside and enjoy our fall Friday dry day, because really this is probably one of the driest and coolest days, and certainly coolest mornings we've had in many weeks or months in South Mississippi. Well, I hope that you enjoyed this Digital Desk update. That'll do it for us as we wrap things up here at our WLOX newsroom. I've been Senior Meteorologist Wesley Williams. Hope that you have a fantastic Friday. We'll catch you on the next one. Take care, everyone.